For more insight on China's economy, John Gong, professor of economics at the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing. Welcome back. Hope your year is off to a great start.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Chinese economy because it wasn't good last year, right? I mean, all the numbers reflect it, but then there's a silver lining that a lot of people say, well, maybe the worst is over. And let's just take one part of the economy, home prices. I think it's been 5-6 months of straight decline for the home prices, and some say it's obviously a reflection of some of the lockdowns, some of the previous COVID policies, and at the same time, what's happening around the world. Is it possible that 2023 marks an inflection point for at least the property market in China?
Well, as we all know, last year was a horrible year, and we hope that getting to the new year, things are getting better. The real estate property market, in my view, has more of a long-term structural issue here. This is mostly driven by demographics. And I think, on top of this, we have this very difficult economic problem as well as the COVID problem. But I think, we're not going to see the property price keep dropping, like crazy, in my view. I think we probably will see the market to be stabilized, maybe not going up immediately soon, but at least stabilized in the short run. Particularly, I would say, in the major cities. This is the rule in real estate. Usually in first-tier cities, center of the cities, the real estate prices would drop a little bit, and then will stabilize. And will come back. So I think, yeah, it's in cities like Beijing and Shanghai, we'll probably get into an inflection point.
Time will tell. And of course, last year, we had the zero COVID policy, which was controversial for a lot of people. But then this year, we now have it's been sort of liberalized, if you will, and things are opening up very quickly, in fact. And some people are criticizing it's opening too quickly. What's the economy, how's the economy going to react, or do we have to get through the next couple of weeks first? Is it too soon to guess what's going to happen?
Well, I think if any experience that can be learned, for example, in cities like Hong Kong and Singapore, I'm pretty confident to say that we're actually very near the end of the tunnel. I think we're just around the corner for things to turn around. I think getting to the rest of January, as Spring Festival in China is just around the corner. I think this Spring Festival will be very different. People are still going to stay at home. The peak of infection in cities like Beijing and Shanghai have already passed, but there are also other cities that still haven't passed the peak yet. So I would expect that people may still stay at home during the Spring Festival. But I think after the Spring Festival, which is going to be towards the end of January, I think really we're going to get this COVID thing behind us for good.
The consumers, how are they likely to react? Because I speak to my friends on the ground in China, and a lot of them were obviously very, very concerned over the past couple of months. And even now, with things opening up, they're nervously going out, but they also want to go out. So they're both scared and excited to go out. And I think there's this transition period. How long is it going to take before the consumers feel relaxed to go out and spend money and ultimately, I guess, help the Chinese economy?
Well, I think we can just look at what's happening in Beijing right now. I think we're starting to see traffic's getting a little bit more congested. The shopping malls are, you see more people in the shopping malls. The restaurants are being visited by people. It's a clear sign that once this thing is behind us, consumers are ready to go out and open up their wallet and spend some money. And I have no doubt that the same pattern we are seeing in Beijing will just proliferate in other cities in China as well. It's just a matter of time. Let's just be a little bit more patient. I think I would bet that by the end of January, after the spring break, after the Spring Festival, I think people are going to come out and life is just going to come back to normal very quickly.
The past couple of weeks, we've seen a number of changes being made. One in particular is travel, both within and outside of China, essentially opening things up like the U.S. did about a year ago. And China obviously not happy with the U.S. Requiring people coming into the U.S. to be tested. Some countries are are making it more difficult. Some are sort of saying, well, there's nothing to see here. What is your prediction as to what happens next in terms of travel between the two countries, and for that matter, throughout North America?
Well, first of all, let me say that from my personal perspective, I can fully understand what the United States government and some other European governments have done. In a way, China is also conducting PCR tests for passengers coming inbound into China. But I think what the Chinese government is mostly unhappy about this is that the reason that is quoted by Washington, the reason being lack of so-called adequate and transparent information. And we all know that it's very difficult to track cases anymore these days. I think the Chinese government should stop tracking these statistics as many other governments have done around the world. So there's no point about talking about transparent and adequate information. What adequate information we're talking about here? Now, having said that, I think these measures adopted by these governments will rapidly change as the infection numbers are rapidly change in China. I think we're going to see a peak, and the peak will very quickly drop. And by that time, I think within a month, these policies will be totally moot. And I think these policies will be taken off as fast as they're putting back.
Right. John, Professor, I really appreciate the optimism. I hope both sides can kind of find more common ground and sort of put this behind us as soon as possible, if you will. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for that analysis.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Yeah.